Hey guys, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with CoPrint or not, but CoPrint offers a, I guess, universal multi-material unit, and I've had this idea floating around in my mind for quite some time, so I decided to make my own because, well, looking on their website, it's $439, I think, which is more than, well, most of my printers cost, to be honest. So I purchased a Big Tree Tech 1.4 Turbo. Of course, this is all going to run Klipper. I printed an enclosure out of PETG. This one will mount to Pi, but it's over there. I also printed this Bamboo Labs clone from Printables. It's a really nice model for a 4-into-1 hub. Those are pieces for the camera, and I'm going to try to use this display, the old riprap display, as a means of control for the multi-material unit if you want to just retract filament, change filament, things of that nature. Now, I purchased 4 BMG extruder clones, and this is going to go onto a BQ B1 SE, which is decent. I've done some improvements to it. I bought it used, and of course it was only a single Z lead screw when it was new, so I upgraded it with a second Z motor. You can see why I chose to do so. This brand new PEI sheet that I installed on it, even with Klipper doing a bed mesh, it was very unpredictable. The gantry did not go up square. Things had to be printed over there, and as you can see, sometimes it still didn't work well. I even tried the aluminum foil trick to try to get it somewhat square, but it didn't matter because the gantry would not move squarely. Anyways, so there's the parts, and so I've done a lot of preparation because if you're interested in making your own multi-material unit, you probably already know how to install Klipper. But I do plan on doing a video at some point on that because there are a lot of good videos out there on putting Klipper on your Raspberry Pi. They all seem to hit the high spots. When you get to the middle of the installation of certain things like Klipper screen, it asks you which server would you like to go with, or adding it to the network manager. Those things never seem to get answered very well on tutorials. Even if someone said, hey, go with all the defaults when it asks you a question that I've not covered here. Several different times of doing it only to find out that something didn't work right and going back, wiping the card and starting all over again is how I figured these things out. I also have a couple of MKS Pis, which I'm probably going to catch some flack for this, but I actually like those better than a Raspberry Pi. They're a little weird, but the newest image that's offered on the MKS GitHub is actually really cool. From the touchscreen that you can get with the Pi or any other screen that you want to run from the HDMI port. You can do all kinds of things like macros and system settings, things that normally you would do through Fluid, you can do through the touchscreen interface on the MKS Pis. Anyways, I'm off on a rant. That isn't what we're talking about today. So I'm going to try to put you guys in this holder, and we'll do some actual work. So at the back of the machine, I've already prepped the extruders. I only have 3 of the BMGs because, well, tariffs. And for a little while, everything on AliExpress you could put in your cart, but you could not purchase it. So I got 3 of these off of Amazon. I checked on AliExpress. You can now buy stuff off from them. I guess the little tariff thing is hopefully at its end. But much like the co-print setup, we're going to mount these up here. I do not have everything mapped out and planned out, but I have enough for this video. Things like spool holder, things of that nature. There's several different ways you can go about that. I know how I'm going to do it, but space is a constraint sometimes, and everyone faces a different challenge. I have a small area to be able to keep everything, so space is definitely at a premium for me. I do have a shelf and a cabinet. Shelf that I built in a cabinet that one of the paint suppliers at work provided for me. That actually holds a mixing computer. Let's see if I can get you guys in frame here a little better. That's better. There's a lot of printed options as far as spool holders. I'm thinking of just something that I can, maybe wood, lead out of wood, piece of pipe inside of a piece of pipe, and the outer pipe rolling on the inner pipe. Kind of like the spool holder that you would get for an ANET machine. I got the stepper motors from Steppers Online. Not that they're anything special, just NEMA 17s. The factory spool holder, well, that may have to go. I am going to try to use the factory extruder. The printer you hear running in the background right now is printing a 5-into-1 splitter that I'm hoping to use with the factory extruder. That's going to give me a 5th color, which, I mean, I'm not trying to get greedy with colors, but it could be used for a soluble support material or a support material of a different type. and still be able to print in 4 colors. That's one thing that you do have to give up with like a Bamboo Labs AMS is the five colors, unless you put a Y in it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do not have a Bamboo Labs machine. My knowledge extends to YouTube videos about them. But the way I intend to run this machine, the filament will come from the top in through this direction and out. This guy may have to be replaced with another one of these guys. I had him already, and 3 of these were all that were in stock. Now that the tariffs have seemingly sort of been settled, not trying to get political, I'm hoping that we won't have to struggle with trying to find people who actually want to sell us things in China. Cable management is yet to be worked out. The display, I think I can mount to the front of the machine, and the second motherboard, second control board is actually going to mount, hopefully, around the side of the case. I intend to share my klipper configurations and things online with you guys when I get this up and running, which I will record a video once I get everything else laid out and mounted to the machine. I use the Big Tree Tech board because, well, this runs a Big Tree Tech board because it's a BQ printer, but it was made by Big Tree Tech. I also have an MKS Robin Nano, but the Big Tree Tech board got here first, so in the spirit of having a Big Tree Tech machine, I said why not. But if you can install klipper, you can use any control board that you'd like. As far as money, $30 for 5-stepper motors, $13 a piece for the BMG clones. This one I bought 8 years ago, so we won't count that one, but we can do the math. I do plan some upgrades for the print head. The cooling's not great. It's not bad. I've seen a lot worse on stock machines, but it's not great. I also paid $45 for the 1.4 turbo. I had the display. A friend gave me an A8 clone kit some years ago that he killed trying to flash the firmware. And of course I took the Arduino board out and installed an MKS Tiny B, which is the board he bought for it. I rewired it, got it going, and then he said, well, you can have it. You've done so much work to it. It works great. You can have it. So I would have probably picked another board, like a Robin Nano from MKS, had I done it myself, but it is a good printer. It works good. You just can't put klipper on it. So if you include the price of a Pi, I don't know what Raspberry Pis are going for right now. I do know that the MKS Pi and the Big Tree Tech Pi, $45 to $60, and then a display. The display that you saw on my Pi is a Fly Mellow 7-inch captive touch display. Big Tree Tech offers what I'm going to assume is basically the same thing, and a 5 and 7-inch display. The MKS Pis, both of mine have the TS35 from MKS. The last one I ordered, I did want to get the IPS 55 inch, but again, the market at the time was unavailable. So that's the basic setup right now, guys. I have my configurations built in Klipper, or in my fluid interface. I've yet to test it because I need to figure out whether I want to try to run off the factory power supply in here or get another power supply. When I first started this in my head, I was thinking maybe I could make this a mobile AMS, where if you had multiple printers running Klipper, you could move it from machine to machine, but that was not as viable as I had hoped for. It was a good idea, but I cannot see how to implement it. In theory, the waste from this should be rather low. I do have a 2-color printer. I have an SVO2 that has always been dual extrusion, single nozzle. It uses a tower, a purge tower, but I have printed some big models with a lot of color changes and not had that much waste. But you will need a Bowden type machine. Any direct drive machine, you would have to have a filament cutter and things like that. Now, not being a genius with Klipper, I'm going to use Prusa Slicer to handle the filament changes. That's how the filament changes are handled on my Solvo SVO2. Once you figure out how much has to be retracted for the filament path to be cleared for the other color of filament to go in, you set that in Prusa Slicer and you leave it alone. You never have to change that number again. So I'm going to start in Prusa Slicer. Because I don't know exactly how to do that in Orca Slicer. I haven't used Orca Slicer that long. I've used Prusa Slicer for many years now. And having prior experience, that's going to be my starting point. So there should be no need for a poop bucket. There should be no poop. Just a purge tower that has to be printed with your print. Well, guys, that's it for now. This is where I'm at on it, but I wanted to post this video so that maybe it would pique some interest. And I'm going to leave this all open source. The co-print, it looks like a really awesome system, which it looks basically like this, but cruising their website, I didn't see that it was open source. Maybe it is, and I just didn't see it. But again, it's expensive, and if it's not open source, then you're locked into buying everything from them. And then, of course, it's subject to any sort of updates that they want to do, things of that nature. We all know about the Bamboo Labs firmware update fiasco that everyone has had an opinion about. But until next time, y'all be safe.